Mark Comics, and today we've got a good one for you, true believers. That's right, you see the title Punisher, but it's not good old OG Frank Castle. No, no, no. It is a new Punisher. Now, to pay homage to Frank Castle, this guy's not calling himself Punisher, other people are. But as you can see by this really cool cover art here, this is just the second issue in Punisher. This is volume 14 of Punisher, issue number 2. Who is this new Punisher? Did any of you read the first issue? Because I did, and I pulled it at my local comic shop. I'm hooked. It's a really good story. Very, very similar to Frank Castle. Doesn't step on his toes. We're going to dive right into this. But this, people, as you see, is none other, some of you may be familiar, is former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Joe Garrison. That's right. And his story begins in very almost eerie identical fashion as Frank Castle, right? From the previous volume, Jason Aaron gave us a lot of former insight, childhood insight into Frank Castle's life, and pretty much his very first punishment, air quotes. When he was 13 years old, we know Frank Castle idolized Captain America, but he took vigilante justice into his own hands in a style that would later give him the name, the moniker of the Punisher. Now, Joe Garrison's family, his wife and his children, were murdered. Very similar, not in the same style as Frank Castle, but they were. And that was the catalyst for him now seeking revenge and seeking who came after him. Because let's face it, right? Joe Garrison is a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. He's got confirmed assassinations and deaths on his his record. So common sense tells him someone, he pissed the wrong guy off along the way in his career, and someone's coming after him now. But let's dive into this. This is the second installment, Punisher Volume 14, issue number 2, Joe Garrison. Now, for those of you who don't know, where's Frank Castle? Frank Castle is in Weird World, okay? The last volume, basically, Frank Castle became the Fist of the Beast, the very pinnacle. That's right, that weird ass ninja clan. They chose him as to become their god, their Fist of the Beast. And Frank Castle was imbued with the powers of supernatural from the Beast. And a number of a small black ops team of Marvel's Who collectively eventually got together to stop Frank Castle. He had become so powerful that he even slayed the god of war Ares himself. But basically, Frank Castle, that was his own personal self-inflicted punishment. He was captured by the likes of Captain America, Moon Knight, Wolverine, and Black Widow, and basically, and Doctor Strange, right? Because it's dealing with supernatural. And Frank Castle, as a last resort, he basically used the rest of his godly powers to place himself in Weird World. So that's where Frank Castle is right now. But crime doesn't stop, so neither must the punishment of it stop. Let's dive in. Basically, here we are at New York Police Department's 15th precinct, and we see the two officers that were covering the explosion. Basically, Joe Garrison, his family, their house exploded, okay? And Joe Garrison's body, of course, was not there at the crime scene, although the bodies of his wife and his children, unfortunately, they were. And so Joe Garrison, basically, according to the police, he has become their number one prime suspect in this case. They're going over all the leads. Everything is kind of leading to a dead end. But one of the police officers notices a surveillance camera from issue number 1, which shows Joe Garrison battling the Hulk. No, Dr. Hyde. That's right. That big ass muscular green motherfucker you see with welts and stuff on his back is Dr. Hyde. And Joe Garrison dealt with him in the first issue because that was his first stop in unraveling who it was that came after him and his family. We see target number 2. This gentleman is named, well, not a gentleman, the Offer, one of New York's crime bosses. Now, if you watched the last video about Spider-Man Gang War, He basically ties into that, but not directly. But as you see here, he's basically telling his secretary to, make dinner plans with Lonnie, that's Tombstone, and the Maja and the Owl, right, to discuss munitions. He has munitions for them. But basically, this guy I thought was really cool. His name's the Offer, right, and you kind of get that Punisher-esque kind of profile of a Punisher villain with this guy, the Offer, right, kind of like Jigsaw or someone like that, right? You just get this Punisher feeling of this guy, right? Now, what's cool about the Offer, Joe Garrison obviously has intel on him, and he has basically his gift or power, if you will, if you want to call it that, is that of negotiation. It was said that Sabretooth actually killed him, and he basically, one of the rumors is he made Death, Lady Death, an offer she couldn't refuse. Even Hell or Mephisto, right? He made them an offer, and he came back. But none of this has been proven, but that's kind of like the legend surrounding this guy. So Joe Garrison is going to him next, and we're going to find out why. Offers in his office, wrapping up things with his secretary, telling her to make purchases here and there. What's also pretty cool about him is that he's very knowledgeable and basically deals in every single currency known to man on the planet. And as he's doing this, he hears some rumblings in his office, right? Some gunfire going off, things like that. And he looks up at his camera of the surveillance, and his guards are being systematically taken out one by one. And he notices and he sees the individual responsible, and he kind of pisses his pants and he freaks out and says, "No, no, not him, not him." That's right, it's Leroy Jenkins. No, it's the Punisher. Well, it's who everyone is referring to as the Punisher, probably because his shield Kevlar armor resembles that of a skull. But there we see the title of this second issue, The Negotiation, because that's what the offer is all about. And we see there Joe Garrison scaling up the cables of an elevator to get to his target. Now the offer's on high alert. He's like, fuck, my guards got taken out. Now he has to call in the special forces, which he dubs the Night Crew, which is a collective of four supervillains. And in true video game style fashion, they're all going to attempt to take out Joe Garrison one by one, which is what you would do in a video game. They all wouldn't attack him at the same time, which would have been the smart thing to do. But this group goes by the name the Night Shift, and they're comprised of four individuals: Doughboy, the Eel, there you see with the shocks, Bushmaster is the guy with the hand for the gun, and this lady right here, I forgot her name. I think it's Finesse, and she's actually the daughter of Taskmaster. So first up, we've got the Eel. Eel enters a room. He's in communications with the rest of his team. He's arrogant. He's cocky, letting them know he's ready to send, 150 volts right up Joe Garrison's ass. But Joe Garrison's playing chess, and these motherfuckers are playing checkers. As you see, somehow he is on the ceiling right above him. And no, he's not Superman. He doesn't have, super sticky fingertips and toes. It's probably just great core strength right there. And he's right above the Eel. The Eel's like, come out, wherever you are, you son of a bitch, I'm going to get you. Eel's looking around, patrolling, and he notices that, he hears something, and he notices that there's a missing fire extinguisher. That's pretty interesting because, oh, man, fire extinguisher right in the face. That's right. This is what I love about Joe Garrison, is that even though he's an ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, he does fight like Frank Castle. Many of you hardcore Punisher fans know Frank Castle's greatest weapon is his mind, his will to just punish and just do just ungodly, unspeakable bodily harm to his opponents to get to his goal. And Joe Garrison, and we'll find out a little bit later as to why he fights this way, but I love that because that is so human in nature, right? Like humans, we're not meant to, we're not like gorillas or lions. We don't have sharp teeth or fangs, but we can get strong, but we're meant to run, to throw, and to be explosive. So, but he uses whatever is at his disposal in his environment, be it a fire extinguisher, a weak flooring to place a explosive on to blow so his opponent falls through. Whatever it is, he's going to use it at his disposal, and we see that he does that here to take out the first of the night shift, the eel, and I believe he cracks his neck, punishing him and eliminating him permanently. Up on the night shift there, you see that young boy, that's Triple A. That's kind of like the oracle to his Batman, and basically he gets hit for pam right in the face with some kind of daredevil like black baton. And Garrison, as he's getting hit and attacked from an unknown assailant, at the moment he's basically taking internal intel, and he realizes that someone that attacks him and moves that fast and that quickly can only be Finesse. Right, that's right, Finesse, the next member of the night shift. And he basically realizes intel on her. She's Taskmaster's daughter. She's had extensive training, even from the Avengers. And what's really cool is that Finesse appears to also know a little bit about Joe Garrison. Now, she was expecting Frank Castle because, as we'll see the dialogue throughout their altercation, she mentions, the first thing is, Punisher's hair is dark. You've got, blonde hair. Then she starts to point out all the things that are not like Frank Castle, like Garrison's movements, right? She even says, you don't move like the Punisher. She identically names it. She says, you move like S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's very cool, and that is just a testament to Finesse's high level of training. But we see her here getting the better of Garrison, getting a good few licks on him and cracks, hack, whack, pow, boom. And Joe Garrison, he's taking these licks, and in Rocky fashion, Sylvester Stallone, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how much you can get hit and keep coming back, Sly. And basically, we see Garrison finding his opening as Finesse loses a little bit of her finesse, if you will, and he finds an opening courtesy of her teammate and friend, the Eel. And Garrison takes that glove, which I thought at first was one of Earthquake's gloves, right? Because Earthquake was a part of Nick Fury's Secret Warriors, and I thought that was Earthquake's glove that he just happened to pull out of his trench coat or some shit. But he got that off of the Eel, and right, he sends 150,000 volts through Finesse's body. Let's see her finesse her way out of that, and she gets taken out, and we move on to the next. Keeping with the theme of true video game boss fashion, making our way to the final boss, we are now to Doughboy, which looks kind of like Clayface in DC from Batman. But I guess you can say that he's a bit more difficult than Finesse. I thought, we'll see the fight here, that Finesse should have probably been the third one, because Garrison quickly dismantles Doughboy. Doughboy was more here to kind of for a sob story, talking about how he took the chemicals or ingredients from some lab and kids in school used to bully him or some bullshit. But anyway, Joe Garrison doesn't really even give a shit. He lets him get his little few words out and everything, and as you see, he gets he gets submerged in this dough or this sand or whatever the fuck this is. And Joe Garrison, again, just being the opportunist and just using his intellect and his shield training, manages to get 3 frag grenades, right, unpinned. And he asks now, Doughboy, hey, what do you think's more durable? Your fucked up weird dough skin or my shield level Kevlar armor? And then we see kaboom! Right? And then apparently that was enough to destroy or dismantle whatever the chemical compound Doughboy was made up of. But what's even more impressive is, basically, look at this. Joe Garrison basically survives 3. I don't know if those are frag grenades or what kind of grenades they were, but he survives 3 of them because we saw the 3 pins on his fingers. And he survives it. His trench coat gets a bit torn and stuff, but that shield tech is some high grade, high level shit. And now we go on to the fourth and final member of the night shift, which I wouldn't call, well, I guess we can call him the boss fight. We get to the fourth and final member of the night shift, Bushwhacker, not to be confused with the old WWF then tag team, Garrison enters a room in the offer's office and he sees a nice little piano there and he hears, "Hey, hombre, you want a drink or what?" So he must be, I don't know, Latino or something. But anyway, this guy's name is Bushwhacker, and you can kind of tell because this guy's skin is made of plastic. He's a living weapon. He can form his skin into whatever weapon or bludgeoning item he desires. He can even form his own ammo. Okay, you guys, and we see here, spec, 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 spec. We see Garrison unloading from those cool pistols, and he's blocking. Now we see Bushwhacker changes his arms into chainsaws. AAA gives Garrison intel, and he's like, this guy and his unit, they were the precursor to the extremist virus, which I have no information about, but I know that there was an extremist Iron Man or something. So Garrison says, okay, does he have a weakness? As I mentioned, his skin is made of plastic. AAA says, so that makes him highly susceptible to overheating. Garrison says, copy that. Just on the fly. That shield training, allowing him to think under pressure, switching to incendiary rounds. Garrison does that and continues now to unload. Now we see damage being dealt as if removing life points on a Yu-Gi-Oh duel. Bushwhacker now begins to basically, we see the process of him overheating and what that does to his skin, and he starts to kind of look weird and grotesque, kind of like Zamasu did in Dragon Ball Z, when his arm got all weird and gummy and plasticky like this. And Garrison buys time and he hides to just kind of rethink and regroup. And in this time, Bushwhacker finds him again, and he's going to unload on him and kind of finish him off. Garrison, basically, he asks him, hey, do you think we're still beneath that bar? And Hombre, playing along, is all, oh, now you finally want that last drink, huh, Hombre? And Garrison pulls out this little device, and he's like, nah. Now, whenever anybody clicks a device like that, and they got a confident look on their face, we know why. And here's exactly why. Boom, 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 boom. A series of little fragmented bombs goes off, which tells you Garrison, while he was upstairs surveillancing the place out, placed bombs around that piano, and it's just genius for him to think like that on the fly. Something definitely Frank Castle would have done because Frank Castle also has access to a high-level, high-tech arsenal, and Garrison, being from S.H.I.E.L.D, does as well. And now we see that piano falling through the floor perfectly right above Bushwhacker, and Garrison loving his handiwork. Bushwhacker staring at his demise, not going to be able to mold his way out of this one. And the damage has already been done from all the incendiary rounds Garrison put into him. So this piano, although was not incendiary, was the nail in the coffin for Bushwhacker. And we now get to the offer. He's in his office contemplating life, taking a sip of brandy, if you will. Garrison comes in and he questions, you know who I am? He says, yes. You're Joe Garrison, 84 deaths to your name. S.H.I.E.L.D. Gravedigger, the Punisher. And Garrison, as you can see here, he's like, that's what everyone's calling me. And I do like that. He's not calling himself the Punisher. He's just trying to get answers and get revenge, which is basically what Frank Castle does, the Punisher does. And the offer asks him, are you here to kill me? And Garrison says, no, I'm here to make you an offer, make a deal with you, ironically, okay? And that deal, basically, Garrison wants intel for the offer's life, basically. You tell me what I want to know, and you get to keep breathing and making offers all the days of your life. And basically, the offer tells him Garrison wants information on who put out the hit on him. And the offer now reveals a plot twist. Joe Garrison was never the target, people. It was his lovely his wife. His wife was the target. She was a secretary that basically flagged a number of transactions that needed to go through, somewhere coming from high up, and she had no idea their dealings or their nature. She was just doing her job as a secretary. And here we see the shock and disbelief on Joe Garrison's face, so much to look at the comic bubble. His what is small. And basically, Joe Garrison, this whole time, 2 issues in, thought that his family were collateral damage, but they were not. They were not collateral damage. His wife was the target, and Joe Garrison and his children were the collateral damage. Now we can say who let the dogs out. Because Joe Garrison's demons now, as we'll see him say, have been let off of the leash. And I love that connection that we have here. And it's just further solidifying that, yeah, in Frank Castle's absence, Joe Garrison definitely is a good placeholder for the Punisher. Primarily because he's not trying to be Frank Castle. He's not even trying to uphold the moniker of the Punisher. He's just a guy, a former S.H.I.E.L.D. gravedigger, a man who has the means and resources to avenge the death of his family. And that is exactly what he intends to do. And we see here the offer, he says, well, we're good now, so, I can go. And Garrison's like, huh? And he just throws him out of the window, which is exactly what Frank Castle would have done. It's just perfect. But the fall doesn't kill the offer. And you see him, Garrison there, you'll live. And I love what he says, and it's that he thought getting the answers and solving this case would satiate his demons, but it didn't. What it did was it let them off of the leash. So basically, God help all those that were involved in this hit. A $10 million covert hit on the dark web. Just how sick is that? I hope you guys pick up The Punisher Volume 14 with Joe Garrison. Don't hate, guys. He's not trying to take over Frank Castle. He's just trying to. Frank Castle would want this. If Frank Castle could see Joe Garrison, he would be cheering him on. He would be applauding him because this is exactly what Frank Castle would have done. Frank Castle and Joe Garrison, you can almost say, are like kindred spirits. And maybe at some point we'll see a crossover between the two, maybe like a double Punisher feature, something like that. I don't know. But this has been Trademark Comics. If you got this far, thank you for listening. And until next time, I am out.